Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay. It is 2 p.m. on a Monday. Let me check my volume. Always check your mic. Bad things happen when you don't check your mic. And levels are good. Good. Yeah, hope everyone is doing okay. So, interesting story did come up. Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez are apparently touring. They're apparently touring. They're going to Kansas. The Democratic Independent Socialist, or the Democratic Socialist Independent Senator from Vermont, is joined hands with Democratic Socialists from New York, who hasn't necessarily been elected yet, but is expected to be elected. And they're going to help someone else in Kansas get elected. She's using her star power. Now, the amazing part to this, one of the benefits of having the press fawn over you in this way, oh my God, she's got elected. Oh my God, she's gorgeous. Oh my God, she's from New York. Oh my God, she beat Crowley. Oh my God, she calls herself a socialist. Oh my God, she wants to give her advice. Part of the I guess you can say part of the benefit that comes from having the press fawn over you in this way is that you can use that star power for other things. And if you've noticed, she started to campaign with other people. I've seen her with Cynthia Nixon. I've seen her. There's another gentleman. Can't think of his name. It's like Abdul something. And now she's in Kansas with Vermont, joining star power together like they're the Wonder Twins in order to try to let some of that melt onto the person who they're standing beside. I like this. I like this a hell of a lot more than Bernie Sanders standing beside Tom Perez. I like this for another reason that I'm going to get to after this, but let me do the story first, just so people who are coming in who just want to see the story, they get the story. This is The Hill. Ocasio-Cortez to campaign with Bernie Sanders in Kansas. Congressional candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders will travel to Kansas together next week to campaign for a pair of candidates in the state, according to the Washington Post. The pair would start off in Wichita, Kansas on July 20th to campaign for James Thompson in the state's 4th district. From there, they'll head to Kansas City, Kansas suburbs to support former Sanders delegate Brent Welder, who is running for the Democratic nomination in the 3rd Congressional District. Sanders told the Post that he and Ocasio, a self-identified Democratic Socialist, organized the trip after realizing that they both wanted to go to Kansas. All over this country, you have people who understand that we need to change the minimum wage to a living wage, that health care is a right, that we need to rebuild the infrastructure, the progressive senator told the newspaper. Those are popular issues in the Bronx. Those are popular issues in Vermont, in Kansas. They've got through former Governor Brownback, Republicans' agenda. They do not believe you should give tax breaks to the rich and cut Social Security. Ocasio previously worked with the organizer for Sanders' presidential campaign. Her stunning defeat of incumbent Representative Joe Crowley, invisible man who's still apparently on the ballot and wouldn't take himself off, in the Democratic primary for New York 14th Congressional District sent shockwaves through the party. Ocasio-Cortez on Thursday accused Crowley of refusing to concede the Democratic primary and mounting a third-party bid against her. Crowley denied those claims, saying he's backing Ocasio in the race, while not taking his name off the line, meaning he's still on the ballot as a third-party candidate. I wish The Hill would have added that at the end of this, because it's not Crowley denied those claims. It's Crowley denied those claims, saying he is backing Cortez in the race while still being on the line. God damn it, Hill. Do your job. Or do your job better. Saying Crowley denied it makes it as if she said, he said, well, we never know. This is not something we can figure out. Bob said this. Tom said this. The only two that were there were Bob and Tom. This will be a mystery that goes down in the annals of history. Not so much. Is Crowley on the line or not? Yes or no? If Crowley is still on the line, meaning Crowley is still running for the Workers' Families Parties, then as a flat fact, he's still mounting a third-party challenge. He's there. He's on the list. Somebody can go in and vote for Crowley. What am I missing? What am I missing? This is not something that we can't figure out the answer to. The answer to it is right in front of us. Is Crowley on the line or not? And the answer is yes. Crowley is still on the line. He hasn't conceded. Look, this is great. This is great for another reason. Will and Grace. Do you remember Will and Grace? Will and Grace was this show. It was a gay man. It was two gay men and it was a woman. And it was a big time show. Deborah Messner, if I'm not mistaken, cut her teeth on that show. I don't remember the male actors that were on the show, but for the most part, it was a big show. It was like during the 90s or something. I would argue that that show was instrumental in shoehorning gay rights into the community and the society. Now, you may say there is nothing more trivial than a show, but I would make the point to you that the show itself gets across this idea that, hey, they're human beings just like us. Who knew? Who knew? Television or media has an amazing way, depending on how it's used, if it's used in a good way, but has an amazing way of getting across reality of what goes on in people's lives in a way that says from a third-person perspective. You can observe it from a third-person perspective and realize certain things and aspects of their life that is similar to your life, making this thing that you're looking at less foreign. Harlem Renaissance did the exact same thing. You have African Americans that were kept as slaves, that was looked at in just kind of Jim Crow society. And here you have art and literature, and you have deep feeling and thought. And you're like, oh my God, listen to the way this guy's performing this bit of music. Listen to the way this person is giving this particular oration. They look and sound like people just like us. I'm making this point that sometimes you have something that breaks the consciousness and raises the consciousness of the public, where the public can see and identify in a way that the public wasn't able to do so when it was able to identify itself as being something separate and distinct from the thing to which is being talked about or observed. Obamacare, same thing. Same thing. Think about what this country was like before Obamacare came into play. Now, you had them saying this is socialized medicine, socialized medicine, socialized medicine, and an odd, weird quirk that by the attacks on this, leveled in it in this way, the public got into their mindset that, wait a minute, we can't have healthcare. Now, granted, this is in no way socialized medicine. This is a right-wing healthcare plan. And yeah, if Obama pushed for it, he probably could have got more than a right-wing healthcare plan. He might have even got a public option. I'm just trying to make the point that there's certain things that happen in your society that raises the consciousness because it breaks the model that had existed for a period of time to be this kind of sacrosanct idea. Ocasio is similar. People don't like to admit this, and people like to attack her saying she's not socialist enough, or she's doing this, or she's doing that. It's a 28-year-old who has identified herself as a democratic socialist that has pushed for health care, that has pushed for education, workers' rights, Social Security, Medicare, etc., etc. And she hasn't wavered from that in the least. We need to stop these wars. We need to get rid of ICE. She hasn't wavered from those tenets in the least. What is more important here, however, is that she's accepted the moniker of socialist. Whatever you want to say, she's not socialist enough or whatever. I guarantee the public doesn't fully understand the microcosm, the minutia of what's one socialist versus another. They don't know it. What they hear is there's a person who's identifying themselves as a socialist, and she doesn't have horns. What she's saying seems to be about right. Hey, I want healthcare. I like healthcare. I want my kid to be able to go to school. She's not hiding away from it. She's getting in front of a mic and she's openly saying, yes, this is what I am. This is what I espouse. These are the things that we should be able to have. They got it over there. We have $1 trillion a year in military. Are you telling us we can afford bombs when we can't afford to send our kids to school? We can afford missiles and murdering babies where we can't afford to make sure that people have clean water? Is that what you're telling me? The fact, what she names herself, what she calls herself, her standing beside that has a reverberation in our society that I don't necessarily think we've seen the full extent yet. In the same way that Sanders, calling himself a socialist, running in the Democratic primary, shoehorned it a little bit open for her. All of these things are things that widens the political space, widens the political dialogue. Part of my push for her in this much, and part of the reason why I push back at people who are having a go at her from the standpoint of the left, is that you don't know what she is, and she hasn't changed one iota what she is. And her and Sanders are widening the political space of debate, even from the standpoint of what they call themselves and the things that they represent. I love that they're going to Kansas. It's great that they're going to Kansas. That is a good thing. And I think all of this widens the political space to the left. I think it widens it to the left. Education, healthcare. I try to make this point that these are the things that she hasn't wavered on. She's pushed. Sanders hasn't wavered on. Sanders has pushed. These are things that are not outside the political landscape anymore. Think before Obama. Think now. And not just not before the political landscape. The public itself is on board. I suspect part of the reason they were so angry at the end of Obama's term had to do with screaming hope and change and not giving them hope and change. There was a public that was primed for something different. You didn't give us something different, so you were punished with Trump. You have an opportunity. You have the political space. Swing for the rafters. None of this incrementalism stuff. Swing for the rafters. And the people who are giving you the political space to do it are running around in Kansas. The story is good. The story is good. Let's see. I know I'm going to have some people who are disagreeing with me on this, but this is good. In fact, I'm not going to keep this one long because I don't want to keep this one long. Michael Tracy is coming up at 3 p.m. He's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about the Russia stuff. Michael Tracy, formerly of TYT, will be here at 3 p.m. I'll see you guys then. Thanks, guys.